Hi, welcome, beautiful souls. Welcome back. This is part 4, looking at the Shadowscapes Tarot. And my intention in this next hour is to conclude my thoughts on this deck. I had no intention of doing 4 videos. I have a couple of new decks that I would love to share with you. And so I'll get those thumbnails up as soon as possible. But this evening we're going to look at starting with the cups, the suit of cups. And if you've missed any of the other cards, then you can chime on in by looking at the other videos linked below. Okay, I'm going to put 3 cards at a time on the table and then do my best to weave the story of this, the journey of this beautiful deck. As I mentioned in previous episodes, this is a deck that wanders in liminal space. The liminal space that exists as sky, as water, as land. And in each of the suits, we kind of wander freely without limitations on, where our feet land. Welcome, Laura and Arcana. Lovely to have you here. And I say that because when I'm looking at the 2 of Cups, we aren't in a watery world. We're in a world of union, of water and air and earth, and it all kind of blends together. I described this tarot deck as one that is to be experienced. It's a tarot deck to wander into and get lost in, and to bring the pictures up nice and close to your face, maybe get a magnifying glass, and then close your eyes and allow yourself to wander even further into the card, looking for more information, for other creatures perhaps that are in the background. It's just a wonderful way to wander in Shadowscapes Tarot. For those of you that are here for the first time, I want to say welcome. My name is Sadhana, and I am a lover of tarot, a tarot teacher and reader, and have been doing this for well over 25 years now. And it's just an honor to be here sharing with you my thoughts on decks and cards and meditation and all kinds of things. So welcome to my channel if you're new. We wander in the element of water in the suit of cups, and yet the flow, my dog is here and she's very vocal. She's half snoring, half content. I'm not quite sure what she's up to, and she knows I'm talking about her, giving me a sideways gaze. Sorry about the funny sound effects in the background. So we wander in different scapes with a flow of energy. And there's a beautiful interaction between the elemental beings and the fish and there's different sorts of elemental beings and the animals and the plant beings. I believe there's also feathered, there's no feathered beings in this suit, but there's this flow of energy here. Even the tree in the 2 of Cups is flowing. And I think we can determine the health of the card by the flow of energy. If you think of the suit of Cups as a suit of emotion, energy in motion, we're experiencing that sort of flowing energy through all of these cards. These little hearts, the one that you see in the 2 of Cups, tend to appear in random places in this deck, and you want to be looking out for these hearts to see how they are going to connect through a reading where you have multiple cards on the table. This 2 of Cups is very complex. I think there's a lot that was going on in Stephanie Puimunla's mind or heart as she was creating this deck. We see two tree beings intertwined here in a passionate embrace. They are sharing a cup, and there is a cup that is on its own, on an edge, that is being disregarded at this moment. It's almost being protected by the fish beings. And then down in the rock, in the solidity of the bottom of the card, there's also some other beings, fish beings or other sort of beings swirling around. Lots of things are moving here. Lots of things are being stirred up. So twos in general speak to this dance of energy, of coming together and separating, and coming together and separating. And I tend to read the twos in tarot as, I always bring up relationship and reflection, lots of RE words. And this is about, I would suppose, comfort with another, the dance with another. And this other, of course, could be your lunar or solar self. Because whenever we're looking at relationship readings, we're also looking at our love and respect for all of ourselves, our individual needs as well too. This Two of Cups is really quite extraordinary. And then in the three, we get this burst of color. This card really stands alone in this deck. There's a few cards that have this sort of exclamation mark here. This Three of Cups feels very familiar. We have three beings that are coming together with this energy bubble around them. I love the energy bubble. It's like this moment of protection. This moment of protection around these beings so that they can come together and create and experience and share and let go within the safety of this bubble. If you think about the Three of Cups and the celebration and the joy that is experienced there, it's through the sharing of emotion, through the sharing, through the letting go, that we find joy and release. There really are beautiful, beautiful cards. And then we're able to build something new. All threes are about growth and expansion and all of that, right? Something is created. But there's this process, this beautiful process about sort of a natural release, really, that helps to make us better and stronger through coming together. Lost the cards for a moment. I've mentioned in this deck that in putting a bunch of cards on the table, the worlds tend to flow together. And I would strongly recommend... They're beautiful, aren't they? Laura says she loves the two beings on the rim and the ace. Yeah. I would strongly recommend doing a 9 card or a 6 card, overlaying the cards and allowing the flow of water, the flow of air to go between the cards. The purples here are going to melt beautifully into the suit of swords and other purple cards. There's quite a bit of purple in the wand suit as well too. Watch which way the energy is flowing. That'll help you bring direction into your reading as well too. Sometimes you will see the animals and the elementals sort of flowing from one card to another. And that's another way that I work and read with this deck. There's something really beautiful in this 5 of Cups, the way that this figure is holding the fish in the bowl. both of the cups that are full contain life. And I've seen this in other decks. One of my favorites that I haven't had on the table for a long time is a lily white tarot, lily black, lily white. And there's something that's living and growing in the cups that are remaining. And there's an honoring of that. There's something, it's a wonderful perspective to be a half cup full person. In the Six of Cups, there's something quite poignant here. And one of the things that I pick up on is that, so there's a fairy, there's an elder that appears in the back here. There's an elder that comes into the story and doesn't interrupt the play. And I don't know how we might apply this as adults, but sometimes when children are so engaged in play, they're in their element, and it doesn't matter what goes on in the background. They just continue on expressing their joy with what it is they're in their world. And I suppose maybe this would happen. You're having a deep personal conversation with someone, and you feel so in your element, and then somebody you wouldn't expect wanders by the door or wanders by the room, and you don't let it disturb you because you are happy and full of integrity, and everything that you are saying is truth and beautiful, and you want to share it, and you don't let the outside world disturb you. There's this thing about the sixes, about the beauty and the peace and the gentleness and the harmony and those moments that is so important. And we don't want to spoil them by allowing the ripples of the outside world to shift our gears. When you get sixes in the tarot, you really want to be in them and live in them. And so when I see this card, it reminds me to remind usually the adult querent that when we are in joy, to be in joy. It's okay to be happy. And sometimes we need to remind grown-ups that it's okay to be happy. You can see the colors are getting a little darker in the 8 and the 9 of cups, a little more intense. Loving your observations. Thank you. There's just a lot of songs that I hear in these cards as well, too. When I look at the 7 of Cups and the 2 castles that are in the background that appear to be on the land, and then there's another castle up in the air, or a world that is worlds away. This card could very well be about reaching for your dreams, and sometimes we need a 7 of Cups card to say, what is it that you truly want? What is it that's in your heart? And other times we need a 7 of Cups card to say to us, would you hurry up and choose one and make a decision? You can't have everything. But there's something very separate about the foreground figure. I believe it's a male. And then there's a woman that's reaching up to the ice cream castles in the sky. That's what the song sounds like to me. He has a map. He's trying to be very practical, and she's dreaming. And this feels like that sort of conversation. What if she had the power to bring that beautiful world down and place it into the map? That's entirely possible. We need to listen to each other. 7 of Cups is, if you read with Golden Dawn Correspondence, is a Venus card. And it's a card of feeling, and we need to give credence to everyone's feelings and to listen individually as well to all of our feelings. Yeah. There's a lot of fish in the Nine of Cups. Abundance. Sometimes I look at blue as the blue intensity increases, saturation increases, that there might be something to be cautious of as well too. And I think that's the case. When the water becomes darker, we can't see everything as well. So I'm mindful of that when I'm looking at the intensity of blues in the water. I want to put the Two of Cups. Actually, we can look at this couple here as well too, and then the Two of Cups. This deck does this really well. There's a lot of cards that make these beautiful connections, and it's not unusual to have them appear in the same reading. And there's a couple of cards in the Suit of Pentacles as well too, where this might play in, and you can see this dance among the beings. This Ten of Cups feels somehow different to me. Ten of Cups is a tricky card to read. Ten of Cups is the end of the zodiacal year. If you're, like I said, if you're bringing in those correspondences, it's Pisces. And this third decan of Pisces is Mars. And in a Waite Smith deck, we see the rainbow, which is created by the sun and the rain. And we have perhaps a reference to that here. We see it's like you're underwater and you're looking up to the sunlight. Ever since I realized this, part of me wants to just remember that the heat or the fire of Mars, or in this case perhaps the fire of the sun, is there to dry up some of the water. Yeah. Oh, you wanted me to talk about the 8. Yeah, I can address the 8 of Cups. Yeah. My point there was just to let the cards flow together and to look for common symbols and things like that. So in the 8 of Cups, I see a mermaid being. This is another really poignant card. So I see that creature going down into the darker waters, going down into the depths of the water. If you think about this metaphorically, that is where we find our answers. That is where we learn our truths. That is where we reveal our secrets. So instead of climbing the mountain, they're going deeper into the ocean, deeper into their emotions. Yeah. And the courts, if you haven't been part of this little series here, we've got Page, Knight, Queen, and King. And the court cards in this deck are absolutely beautiful. This Queen of Cups is gorgeous. One of the things that I believe Stephanie writes about is there is no seam between the worlds. No seam. So she, through her emotional body, is able to move between the air and the land and the sea with great ease. She is an energy being. And this is one of the most beautiful King of Cup cards I have ever seen. There's just something so extraordinary and connected here. Moving basically in the same direction with the animals. There's no struggle. There's a lightness. There's a communication with the animals. This feels so respectful of all beings. Yeah, just beautiful. The suit of swords in the Shadowscapes Tarot is not an easy suit. It's not an easy suit. So the sigil of this suit is primarily swans. We also have some sort of corvids as well too in this suit, as well as elemental beings. And mythologically, the swan, there's a lot of stories that you might like to bring forth in if you're reading for another or you're trying to make sense of this yourself. And we have another heart in the two. Remember, there was a heart in the two of the last two that we looked at, the Two of Cups as well too. They're not just in the twos, they're in other places. There's also a heart in the three. So there's an invitation here. This particular two really intrigues me, because if you look at the Two of Swords, there is a swan here that's offering a flower, a petal, some sort of flower. And then the swan here is offering the heart. I know it's tied to the tree, but it's almost like the swan is offering the heart. This is the card of Two Minds. And I am somewhat disturbed by the black cape, the ominous sort of nature of the figure between these two swans. And honestly, this whole suit I find a little bit disturbing. The suit of swords generally is a challenging suit. We've moved through the element of fire, the element of water. We find ourselves in this place where you are bringing together your understanding of those previous two journeys. And it's quite challenging. There's a lot of grief and pain in this particular suit. In many decks, not just in this one. But this one somehow really hits me. And it has to do with perhaps the animals, the way the swords are positioned among the animals. I find the Eight of Swords very difficult to look at. And yet at the same time, I don't know, it makes me feel compassion as well too for other beings and other creatures, that they also experience the same sort of challenges that we do as humans. In the Three of Swords, that heart is overhead in a circle, in a window, a broken mirror or something. The paint is dripping or the blood is dripping. And part of me always wants to come back. Okay, threes are about growth. Threes are about creativity and expansion. Threes are about something becoming better and brighter because we are now three. The one is the seed. It's the union of everything. It's the potential. In the two, we separate, we come together, we separate, we come together, we play with relationship to try to understand what it means to be separate. The threes create something that is part of our growth. And when we have challenging illustrations in the Three of Swords, one of the things that comes forward for me is the growth that we experience through grief. The growth in that the other side of grief, the other side of loss, the other side of pain, we can't get there without the experience of the Three of Swords. I find the Four of Swords is there as a bit of an integration process, but the Three of Swords is growing us toward quite a transformative part of our journey. Yeah, I'd much rather in some ways, working with pip decks is so much easier. If you're interested, next year, 2024, I will be working exclusively with pip decks for a whole year. Maybe every now and then sharing a new deck that has illustrations. This is the deck that this is the card that I was saying I find a little disturbing. If you've ever rescued a dog, a cat, a bird, a mouse from a blackberry bush, from brambles, if you have ever untangled a being from barbed wire, you know how brutal that can be and how careful you have to be to unwind yourself. And yet, there's a promise in this card. There's a promise of freedom. And, I suppose for a while, and I love that the hummingbird is there, and the hummingbird can move freely among the brambles, but the swan can't. And why is that? And I think this is an excellent metaphor to sit and reflect on this card. The hummingbird lives in joy. The hummingbird doesn't stay anywhere, one place too long. I mean, there's a if you have an animal spirit book, just look up what hummingbird represents. They also connect us through time to our ancestors. There's a lot of brilliant associations with hummingbirds. They don't get hung up on their emotions and challenges. When I think of the swan there in the brambles, I think of, a woe is me kind of energy. And I don't ever see the hummingbird being that way. It's a rainy day. Okay, well, I'll hang out in this tree over here until the rain passes. Whereas the swan would have a different perspective there. It's a really good card just to kind of sit and to think about. Yeah, so that's the 8. I think this 9 is kind of brilliant too, and I love the whole story of the 8, the 9, and the 10, the way they kind of flow together. The journey through voice, the journey through thought, the journey through mind. 9 of Swords. I mean, to me, this looks like a very hopeful card. The sky is clearing, and it's almost like the birds are helping to clear the energy. And if I keep my eye on the light, all will be well. All will be well. And this 10 of Swords reminds me so much of Tarot of the She. And in Tarot of the She, we see a sword through the frontal point of the third eye chakra. And there is red dripping out of the third eye. It's like a purification of the mind, a purification of thought. And Stephanie describes this figure in the Ten of Swords as falling. Falling. Not flying or rising, but falling. And so I read that as a surrender, a letting go, a surrender to the journey, a surrender to struggling. And I think this whole story, 8, 9, 10, fits together really well. The struggling that is perceived in the 8 is partially realized in the 9, and then in the 10, it's not that we don't care, it's that we realize there's no point in struggling anymore. And we gently release and let go, and we fall. And we fall. Okay. And then the court cards page. I love the court cards in this deck. The Queen, this is a standalone card. She is so white and so pure. It's such a brilliant card. It's a very unusual Queen of Swords. She also has a moon. Looks very High Priestess-like. We see the butterfly. I think they're butterflies or the hummingbirds. Whatever they are, they just feel like signs of transformation. Pure, clear, clean thought. As opposed to the king, who gets somehow lost in his thought. And yet, the king, so here we see the Vitruvian Man. We see a skull. There's a level of responsibility here. You know, with great knowledge comes great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. And I feel sort of the weight of all of that. Now that I know this, what am I going to do? This card feels like, you know, we can't unknow something. So I see the King of Swords here having a moment to reflect before they act, because the King of Swords knows that if they don't reflect before they act, they could cause a tornado. In order to be as inspiring and insightful as the counterpart to their left, the contemplation is absolutely required here. This king is in touch with all, knows all, and there's no doubt that this king has the answer and has experienced life to the fullest. It's just a matter of being guided and listening. I believe Stephanie also refers to the two crows here, as a reference to Huan and Muin. If you have studied the Marielle Tarot, you know that these two birds are referred to in that tarot as well too. These were the birds that guided, drawing a blank here, who was hanging from Yggdrasil? Odin, that brought messages to Odin while Odin was hanging on Yggdrasil. So these are messengers. This is about listening and contemplating and knowing that all of the answers lie within and the resources are always available. A tremendous power lays at the king's back. Yeah. You know what would be really, really fun is to have all of these cards on some sort of a screensaver and then just let the cards randomly appear. Like this would have been a beautiful horizontal deck. It really would have. Now, we're going green. For the most part, we're going green here. The Suit of Pentacles is so charming and magical. So magical. It's, to me, what makes this deck feel like a fairy deck. And we wander into sort of like behind the veil of the forest into the place of the elementals, and we get to experience the forest as the elementals experience it. And there's lots of different animals here. I think there's monkeys and spider, lizards. There's an owl, dragon, lots of animals here. We're in the world of the manifest world, but we're in the manifest world also in liminal space. And so we see the answers through the eyes of elemental beings, dryads, primarily green, like tree beings. There's a dragon in the Four of Pentacles, and I think there's also a dragon in the King of Pentacles. I'm not sure if there are dragons in other cards as well, too. Probably there's in the Suit of Fire. I'm sure there's a dragon or two. Four of Pentacles, Five of Pentacles, Six of Pentacles. I think this suit, of all the suits, is the easiest to read. There is a story within a story in the cards. And, you know, I was just talking about the sixes in the last hour in the Chemonet Tarot. And when I'm looking at that, this Six of Pentacles here, and I believe I mentioned this in another card previously, and that is, in order to find the peace and the beauty and the harmony and the tranquility, we need to let go. I think I was talking about this in terms of the Six of Cups, where we need to let go of of worrying about what other people are saying or feeling or thinking while we are sharing a beautiful story or singing a song or playing the piano. You know, we might be having this wonderful moment, and I know you've seen this in lots of stories and movies and TV shows. You know, somebody's playing the piano, they're just feeling, and they might not be playing perfectly, and they're having this moment, and then somebody walks by the room or into the room and they realize they're there and they stop playing. Well, that just halts the process. And so much like the Six of Cups, the beauty here in the Six of Pentacles comes with letting go. And of course, you can put the word sharing on this as well, too. There's a level of sharing, of reciprocity that is part of the sixes. The more we give, the more we receive. And if we hold back from giving, then we don't get as much. Yeah. 8, 9, 10. I would like an entire wall painting of this card. 9 of Pentacles isn't bad either. I'm going to talk about this in the next hour. I'll be in the Facebook group. It's about finding the magic in connection, in particular with nature. and blurring your vision a little bit and experiencing the lesson of these cards through the magic of nature. Eight of Pentacles is about connection. It's about focus. This Eight of Pentacles, I feel a little bit different than in many decks, but there's something so brilliant here. It makes me so happy. And when I look at that Nine of Pentacles, it's almost as if the music creates that beautiful stained glass above. Have you ever seen those? I'm sure you've seen films or documentaries where the music creates a mandala in the water or in the ice. That's what I see in that Nine of Pentacles. It's just about beauty and connection. It's what I feel in this whole suit. It's so soothing. Now, I say all that, and I look at the King and the Queen, and I understand what is being portrayed here. That this is the green man, the green lady. This is the energy of the earth. Connecting with that element within ourselves. So when these cards appear in a reading, to ask ourselves, are we leading? Are we guiding? Are we being moved through the earth element? Are we at home in the earth element? Are we allowing the earth element to expand within us rather than explore or learn about? The Queen of Pentacles, like when I was looking at the Queen of Water, there's an intensity of color here. And I want to make sure that I don't gloss over these cards where the colors get intense. And I'm going to read something into that. Because the feeling of the Queen of Pentacles and the feeling of the King of Pentacles is quite different. Not only is this a deck of wandering in liminal space, but it's a deck of allowing the colors and the energy to speak to you. And how the energy speaks to me may not be the way it speaks to you, but I think that's very important in reading this deck. I would suggest this is a great deck for path working, whatever your method for that is. Simplest way is just to simply sit, relax, close your eyes, and then open your eyes and look into the card, stare into the card, slightly blur your vision, and wander in. Perhaps you have a question. You've done some journaling beforehand as well, too, to get your answer in that card. And there are other methods as well, too. And it's a beautiful, brilliant deck for doing that, for wandering into liminal space. And if you are, or you have a client or a friend who is having a hard time with their emotions, this is a deck that's going to bring out emotions in people. I think somehow magically the emotions, even if your friend or the querent doesn't connect with elementals or fae, or even the colors of this deck. I feel like this deck has this power to bring up emotions. There's just something about that there. Yeah. Okay. So that is a wrap for broadcasts of the Shadowscapes Tarot. Love this deck. I would suggest working with it on your own for a significant period of time before you read with other people. Really get to know the flow of the cards, the colors of the cards, and get lost in the world of Shadowscapes. Thank you. Take good care. Namaste.